at UK cities within the topic of urban issues. So we're moving on from Lagos today, and we're looking at an introduction of UK cities. So we're going to describe the distribution of UK cities, explain reasons why there is this pattern across the UK, and explain why some of the UK cities are growing while others are decreasing in population. So we can see here there's lots of attachments that you'll be able to see at the bottom of your page. So we've got the booklet sheet, which is where you'll write your answers. You can do this on the Google Docs, or you can do this in your own booklets if you have them. Completely up to you, but you make sure that you either upload or you take a photo of the booklet page if you do it handwritten. But that's completely up to you. There's also a textbook page here which might help you out later on in the lesson, but I'll explain that further later on. And then a few videos and links that you can click on to help you out. So the PDF instructions is what we're going to start with. This is what I'd like you to start with, and we're going to just have a think about the percentage of the UK that's classified as urban. So where it says anything in red, this is what you'll be doing as the activity. So for this one, we're just thinking about it. Use the satellite image to help you. You can see some areas are lit up more than others, and that will help us to decide which areas are urban and which aren't. So read this slide, make sure you've understood it, and then move on to this slide where it's talking about the specification. So today we're looking at the overview of the distribution of population and major cities in the UK. We'd like you to have a little think here about what distribution means. So remember, this is in red, so we're thinking about it. And then we're going to move on to looking at a few UK cities that we might already know. There's some images to go with this to help you out. So for this one, this is Liverpool, for example. And just have a look at all of these that I'm scrolling through now. So once you've had a little look at those, we'd like you to write down as many of the UK major cities that you know. So for this activity, you'll be using the booklet sheet, and you'll be matching up. Where the number is on the map, and you're going to be writing in what you think the major city is on your sheet. So to go to the booklet sheet here, this is the first activity. So you'll be, for example, this is number 1. You'll be writing in here what you think number 1 is. So just have a go at that. We're not expecting you to know all of these, and I know it might be quite tricky, but just have a go and see how many you can get. So then after you've done that, we're going to check our answers. So this is the red bit here, check your answers. You write in the ones that you haven't got or you got wrong to make sure you have these for later on. So our next activity is going to be completing a word fill. So we also have this on the booklet sheet as well. So we'd go onto the booklet sheet and we're looking here. So how was the UK's population distributed? You're going to fill in this word fill using this word bank, which is below in bold. And then once you've done that, go back to the PDF, check your answers, write in any that you didn't get, and move on to the next activity. So our next activity is looking at the reasons why the UK population is distributed how it is. So we have a few sentence starters on the slide for you to have a think about. You can also have a little look at the video here, which is you can click on if you were to click on this, or you can find out more about how the Industrial Revolution affected the distribution of cities by clicking on this link. And there is also a textbook page, which I pointed out earlier, as an attachment on the Google Classroom's post, which you can have a look at as well. So moving on to our next slide. After you've had a little look at the videos, move on to this slide and read this information here, which is completing those sentences. We'd like you to use your own words here to complete your sentences on your booklet sheet. So moving on to the next activity, and here are our sentence starters. We'd like you to write your own answers in your own words, but you can use these answers to help you. Make sure they're in your own words, because that's how we'll know that you've understood what's been asked of you. and you'll understand more, and you might remember it more as well. So that's that next activity. So then now we're going to think about how UK cities are growing. We're going to think about these two questions. So which cities would be growing in population and why? And are there cities decreasing in population and why? For this, you can have a look at the link here. So where do we live? This might help you to have a think about that. And you can also use this Cool Geography UK Urban Areas link to have a look at as well. That might help you to think about that in further detail. But make sure you have a good think about that before you look at the answers. So scrolling back to where we were, we are now going to answer a few questions using the attached textbook page to complete them. So we're going to answer two questions. Where are the fastest growing and slowest growing cities, and is there a regional pattern? And how can you explain this pattern? So as well as using the textbook pages, this graph here can tell you where this can help you with the pattern of growing cities and cities that aren't growing. So we can see here anything in green is growing and anything in red is decreasing in population. So we might use that to help us. And we might say that the general trend here is increasing urban population in southern areas and decreasing in northern areas, but there are obviously some anomalies which we might talk about as well. So for this we might use the trend fact anomaly that you're familiar with already. And then we need to explain this pattern, which we have looked at during this lesson, and the textbook pages can help you with this as well. So as an extra challenge for this, you can compare figures 15.2 and 15.3. So you want to explain the connection between population distribution and the location of cities in the UK. This is a challenge, so don't feel like you have to do this, but it would be good if you could have a little think about this. So just to go back to these questions, you would answer these questions on the booklet sheet, which has the diagram on it as well, so you don't need to keep flicking between them. So you need to answer these two questions, and you can use the textbook to help you. So then, just as the last thing we're going to do today is just to test yourself. So have a little think about whether these are true or false. I don't think you need to write these down. No, you can just have a think about these. So just think about these, think about whether you think they're true or false, and then go on to the next slide and it will tell you whether they're true or false. So then once you've done that, make sure that you either submit your work as a Google document or photograph your written work if you've done it in the booklet. If you have any questions, just leave them as a comment on the assignment and I'll answer them as soon as I can. Hope that all makes sense.